All right. It's time to get started here. I just wanna, before I get too excited, doing everything. Hi, welcome everyone. This is Érika Kasab, ready for a live stream. Yay, it's been a while since the last live stream. I'm just checking that everything is working fine, like the YouTube is showing what it's meant to show before I get too excited with the iPad. Yeah, I'm really happy to be here. Good morning from New Zealand. I love to hear where you guys are from. Hello, Alex. Pepe Bull. Thanks for coming by. Ulysses 3D. Hi. I see, Alex, have you been using the Nomad Sculpt for a year or so in the iPad? Yeah, I also use it in the iPad. I started using it, what was it, 2021, August, something like that. But yeah, well, just to give you a reference of what I will be doing, I have on the top right my reference that I'll be working on, this little drawing of a rat boy, and I have not done anything aside from this sketch, so you will see every single mistake, every single exploration that I go through. Yeah, then we have Nam from Alaska, USA. Hi, welcome. How's the cold over there? And Alex from Michigan as well. Neat. We have Chato Vega from Colombia. Hola, hola. Thank you for the nice comments. I'm just realizing that the video kind of covers my face. Well, there's a logo there. So I'll just do a quick switch here. So, just moving around the OBS stuff. Yeah, in case you're curious, I use the iPad to sculpt, but I am live streaming from my computer. I'm just mirroring the image from here. So it's not quite cold in Alaska yet. I imagine that fall is still pretty cold for people like me who come from Mexico, which is pretty warm. But yeah, anyone that joins the live stream, I'd love to hear that, where you guys are from. And against popular opinion, I actually quite love talking about the weather. Anyway, I'm gonna get started here. I have here my Nomad. I'm just gonna save this. Red boy, yay! It's a little mouse or rat, I guess. Yeah, it does look a bit possum now that you say that. Now that you mention it. So I'm just starting with like a new project here, nothing exciting. It has a default sphere, and I quite like that it comes with multi-resolution levels. If you watch any of the videos that I've done before, I like to start with super low resolution, so I'm even gonna go lower here. Because it's easier to blocking things. Possibly the first thing that I'm gonna start with is the body. I like to think of this of going from big to small, always. Every time that it's early stages, I avoid as much as possible detail, because it can get, you waste a lot of time on detail sometimes, and then it doesn't make it to the final product. So the more that you focus on just the basic stuff, the better. And in my blocking, I like to make masks. I'm using not perspective view. You'll see it probably down here. I'm not quite sure if my mouse is coming up. But yeah, down here I can switch from perspective and orthographic. It just makes it easier to do the selections. And I am making my mask to select an area. I invert it. I'm using the quick mask buttons, which here on the top right you can still have a look at the stuff. If you're clearing a mask, inverting, blurring, all that. I'm just doing it with gestures, which you can find on the Nomad manual, and I'm pretty sure that there's a video which I made that also talks about those. But yeah, this is usually how I like to do my blocking, just trying to get those rough shapes. Now that I have this X shape, I can start to give it a little bit more width. Oops, I can add it big there. Always checking from all my points of views. Okay, let's add another sphere there for the head, and again gonna go super low resolution here on the primitive basics. Just gonna lower this parameter quite low, validate it, and add a couple resolution levels to use when I'm ready. And I'm just using the gizmo, I'm using the move tool or drag, which are very similar. It's a very small thing which makes them different. I don't know if you can quite tell. It's probably too small resolution to show you this, but let me add more resolution so this makes a bit more sense. So with the move tool, whatever is inside that circle of influence is gonna be always moved. But with drag, as it gets far away, the selection gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So this can be useful at times. Usually more when you're working with way more detail later on. Where am I from? I am originally from Mexico, Mexico City, but I am currently living in New Zealand. So I decided to marry a Kiwi, which is Michael, the other person in the channel. Oh, Ciudad de Mexico. Nice. Mexico City. I'm gonna keep this in English for the general audience. Oh, that's so cool. You're also from Mexico City. I really miss it. I always get asked this question regarding tutorials in Spanish. At the moment we don't have the time to work on them. The production time is a bit more than I originally expected, and I have a full-time job and I freelance, so it's not possible at the moment to work on those. Alright, just carrying on here. I got a rough idea of the head, the body. Yeah, I always looking at the silhouette, and if you're not sure about this, you can always go into shading at the top where we have the sun and hit on unlit. I'm gonna turn off the wireframe, and this shows you just the silhouette, and what we want is to have a nice looking silhouette, not wobbly surfaces. We want to have nice control here. So this mode is quite useful because it keeps you focused on what you want. You can probably appreciate from the drawing that we have an area which is like flat at the top that connects the skull and the tip of the nose. Then from the nose it goes down with an S-curve towards the neck. So even though this is still really early on, I'm trying to look at those details. Probably the body's a bit longer. So you'll see me switching back and forth between unlit and just madcap. Am I a graphic designer or animator? I studied animation, so I guess I technically am an animator, though I don't really do animation. I am terrible at animation. I consider myself more, I guess, a digital artist. 2D and 3D.
You're a video game artist for a job.
What's that?
You're a video game artist for a job.
I guess I am a video game artist. That's my job. That's my full-time job. But yeah, I don't animate. I design stuff. I paint cats, as I always say. Alright, so I will get the legs done here. This seems to be fine just with spheres, but I will always think of what is the easiest primitive to work with. Primitive, in case you are unfamiliar with the language of the 3D, is just the basic shapes that the program offers. And here they have like these chunky legs that get quite skinny. So maybe a little mask will help. But I'm gonna paint it. Chunky legs at the top, so I'm gonna select the bottom. I'm gonna reverse this selection, bring back the rest. I'm gonna blur this mask a little bit. And make this a tad small and stretch. The feet itself are probably gonna be another geometry. Yeah, this kinda looks alright. Maybe it was a bit too long. I work with an iPad. It's a pretty old iPad. This is like a second generation iPad Pro. And Nomad runs super nicely. Maybe in the future when this iPad decides to retire, I will switch to a newer one. I have not used Nomad in a different tablet. I just haven't had the chance to do it, but for what I hear, it's meant to be pretty good. Let me see. Alex says, is a mask just a way to isolate a choice piece? Yeah, exactly. That is what masks do. You couldn't have said it better. So if I was picking the body here, I'm using the gizmo, so any modification that I do, whether I stretch it, whether I move it, is gonna be on the whole body. But if I make a mask of any kind, which I can either paint with a brush, and they are painted based on the points on the vertices of my mesh. So the more vertices that I have, the more detailed the mask can be. But anyway, so you can either paint it like this, or you can use the selection mask brush, and you can use the lasso version. Here we have it on the left, lasso, polygon, line creation. So let's pick, for example, line, and I'm gonna change here so we have no rotation. So whatever's in the white area is gonna be masked. So the black area is gonna be like protected, and the rest is gonna be free to change. So here, if I were to move it, see how black area remains, and the rest is adjusted. Yeah, there's plenty of modifications that you can do with the masks. Like I can invert it. If I want it to be much more subtle, I can blur it. And then that's gonna make like a fade effect. See how it's not as harsh anymore as before. So masks are always used. Not only on 3D sculpting, like honestly I use them a lot as well on 2D painting. It's always a very nice way to work. Non-destructive method, especially on 2D, for texturing is also quite used. And yeah, they're the best. I rate masks. Alright, now going back to the sculpt. I'm just looking at my drawing. The general pose of the rat follows a bit more of a C curve. Like if I was to draw only the spine, it doesn't look straight, but it's like bent a little bit. And my sculpt so far looks a little bit too stiff. So I am gonna attempt to get that C curve from that spine to make it a little bit more natural looking. You'll hear me say that a lot. If you are ever a student of mine, you will hear me. You'll probably hate hearing me saying C curve, S curve all the time. It just literally means the type of line that you are making. It's a nice way to design because it keeps things simple. If I just looking at it to make this slightly more more clear. We have Mars from Mars. I can't pronounce the Z, but hi. Alright, so C-curves and S-curves. We have, for example, here on the back, this C-curve happening. That's sort of what I mean. Well, here, this would be closer to an S-curve. See? So that is always what I'm looking at. It really helps simplifying designs. Thank you very much, Mars. That is very kind of you. Thank you for being here. Where are you from, Mars? I'm always excited to hear where people are logging in from. I think I have a nicer C-curve now. And the legs, maybe I tilted them a bit too much. Now continuing with this motion, because I want to make sure that it looks fine, I'm gonna add the tail now. I collect the tube tool in Nomad. It's quite nice because you can keep it like the work in progress. You don't have to commit to it right away. You don't have to validate it, and it lets you modify quite a bit of things, which I quite appreciate. So I'm gonna block it in now. I'm gonna use possibly just 2 radiuses, so I can give it some specific thickness. Let me center it here, and I'm doing the tail again because I'm thinking about the line of action, that C-curve of the spine, and I kind of want to make sure that this continues, that this looks connected, even though it's gonna be post later. I don't want it to feel stiff or weird in relationship to the body. I want everything to flow together before going into any detail. You're from Jamaica, but you're in America. That's cool. And yes, you're right. Alex, he's from Mars. How did I? Yeah, that's silly me. How long have you been in America? I've never been to Jamaica, but it looks super nice. Yeah, that tail kind of looks alright. I probably need to add a floor to have a bit more reference here. I usually, this is like super personal preference, don't love to have a grid floor there, but that's just me. I don't know, it kind of confuses me or something. So whenever I need a floor reference, I'd rather add a plane, and just gonna make it super low resolution so it doesn't take any information from me. Let's make it a tad bigger. This is just so to know that the feet, that the tail and everything is aligned as I wanted. It's worth looking at it from a orthographic, not perspective view. And I have to remind myself to get out of this not perspective view, because that's a mistake that I love to make. And I just stay there, I sculpt things, and then they kind of look weird, and I cannot figure out why. Also, you've been in the States for quite a bit. Have you visited Jamaica? I moved, what was it, like 2.5 years ago to New Zealand, and I lived my whole life in Mexico. So I'm experiencing that I don't know how you would call it. I guess like homesickness, the experience of being an immigrant, I guess that's what it would be. Yeah, Cool Runnings. That's a really good movie. I don't know how well it represents Jamaica, but I really like that movie. I watched it just recently. Michael showed me that movie.
Good thing I made you watch it like 2 months ago, I think it was.
No, it was not that recently.
It was, I don't remember. It was winter.
Was it winter? Maybe it's start of winter. It's just the spring here. Spring is starting here in New Zealand because we're in the South Hemisphere. There's a few people that don't necessarily know this, but yeah, if you're in the South Hemisphere, the seasons are the opposite. So we are still on the cold. We were having a nice winter. We were doing snowboarding, and the season is gonna be finishing soon, which is a bit sad. But we still have some time to snowboard. Yay! What is the name of the program? Yes, Nomad Sculpt. As Alex said. It's available for Android and iOS. Not iOS. Oh yeah, iOS. I don't know. Mobile, Apple. Not computer. Okay, so now I am getting the arms. And because the arms start so chunky, I think I'm gonna do it on 2 bits. First the top part, the chunkier part, and then I am going to get the rest with a tube tool, possibly. And I don't have a front view or any other perspective view from this drawing, which is useful, but sometimes this is all you get when you are working with character creation or even sometimes with props. You just get a small piece of concept art and good luck, go ahead with that. Sometimes it's useful to spend some time drawing to figure out those perspectives, those sides that you are not familiar with. If the thing is kind of complicated to draw, if it's maybe technically a bit difficult, sometimes I'd rather just explore sculpting. This can be great sometimes it's just bad, and then you have to go back to drawing. But in this blocking stages you have to keep it very simple because, like I said before, this is quite experimental yet. This is not about detail. This is about figuring out the most important statement. What you're trying to communicate is being communicated. So for example here, I'm not gonna care too much if the arm is looking funny, like that tube is poking out, because if I try to blend it right now, that's not gonna be worth it. Right now I'm focusing main bits, that's what I care about. Okay, let's add now the features, and my little drawing, my little rat boy has like small Converse, like the drawing is terrible here. It was like a really simple sketch that I made. By the way, I have on my computer this software that is called Pure Ref, which lets me collect a bunch of images. So here is where I usually put all my reference. There's a similar thing that you can use on the iPad. You can see here that I made other sketches to figure out what was the final design. Some of the original ones, more rounder boy, shorter boys, cuter, but then I was like, nah, I don't want him to be as cute. Until I came up with something like this before I committed to more finalized design, which is the thing that we are working on. This guy right here. Do I use Blender? Yes, I use Blender. I like Blender more than Michael.
I don't have anything against Blender. I just don't really use it.
Yeah, I guess you just don't have any use for it. Yeah, I really like sculpting in Blender. Not sculpting, sorry, modeling. Box modeling in Blender. I learned to use Maya, but Blender has smarter tools to box model.
Yeah, Blender's got really good box modeling tools.
Yeah.
Really, really efficient.
Yeah, Blender is really good at that. And it kind of sucks because I'm using Maya a lot more lately. And it's like, oh yeah, this tool is gonna create triangles, or it's just gonna create issues that it shouldn't, but it does for some reason, which makes no sense. So that's a bit annoying about Maya in comparison to Blender. Oh, thank you. Thank you, people. That is very kind of you.
Best way to learn the basics of 3D?
What are the best ways to learn the basics of 3D?
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
What are the basics? That's probably like what we need to define.
When we say basics, do we want to say like modeling or like generalist 3D? Usually you start with modeling.
Usually you'd start with modeling because it teaches you a lot of the language.
Yeah.
And like how to use the tools, even if you aren't a modeler.
Yeah, like every time that I experience like myself learning 3D or with students, their first approach to 3D, it's always modeling.
I feel like I should make a video of that, just like almost like a compendium. Here's all the stuff you need to know about 3D about the basics of 3D. Like, this is what a vertex is. This is what a normal map is. This is why a polygon exists. This is what the difference between an ingon, a polygon, and a tri is, and what their use cases are.
Yeah. Oh, Alex, thank you so much. That is so kind of you. I really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. It's always nice to have a live stream. Can Nomad Sculptors be exported for animators into any other software? Yes, absolutely. They are not animation ready though, but you can definitely take them into Blender, Maya, pretty much any software, because Nomad exports in OBJ, STL, GLB, which are compatible with most softwares. I'm just still thinking about that question. That is a very good question.
Yeah, I'm literally writing it into my my tutorial list.
Oh yeah, the master list.
The master list. I'll just scroll down past 7,000 tutorials.
Yeah, I honestly think that starting with Nomad is probably really good because it's very simple. I started with Maya and oh my god, it's daunting. Maya is just too much. And it's probably very similar with Blender. Like, you open it and like the prompt can be awesome, but the first time that you open it, it's like, what the hell is going on? There's so many menus. Every time I click something it breaks. Whereas Nomad makes it much more accessible. Like, you're still going through the basics, like understanding like what Michael was saying. If you have a 3D object like this that I'm creating, it's made of points which are connected by lines, and those lines create faces, and those collection of faces are a mesh or geometry, a polygonal shape. So all that sort of stuff, just getting used, I guess, to what a I want to say the anatomy of 3D stuff. I don't know if Michael would like the term, because
What?
the anatomy of 3D stuff.
The anatomy of 3D stuff. I mean, that's probably fairly succinct.
I don't know if you would like it, because I'm all about anatomy.
Oh, you know, I have a lecture, remember, about the anatomy of shadows.
Ah, yeah, you did. Let me see. Shaper 3D, that's on the iPad. I don't know if it's on any other stuff.
Oh, okay, so
It's, yeah, it's like box modeling. I honestly haven't tried it.
Hungarian, cool.
Damn, that's cool. Yeah,
You can box model the Hungaroring.
I don't really have a good reason why I haven't tried it, to be honest. Alright, just going back real quick to the model. I'm trying to make this leg feel connected to the feet, and right now it just feels weird. And I think that it has to do with the fact that it just looks like a straight line. So that's kind of weird. So I am thinking that probably, again, unexpected, I'm gonna go for like a C-curve connection to make it look nicer. It wouldn't be the worst idea for now to hide this cylinder which I made. I was kind of thinking in the design that it wears shoes, because it's not just a rat, it's a rat boy, like on The Simpsons. Bart, the rat boy. But yeah, right now that's probably a detail that is not helping me out. So let's try to shape this together, the leg and the feet, before any detail. And I always make that mistake. I always get hung up on detail when I shouldn't. Tinkercad. How was that introduction to 3D with Tinkercad? Do you think that was complicated? Sorry, I've been a bit too much focused on the sculpt and I haven't looked that much at the comments. I did see the new Cozy Blanket update coming with UV unwrapping and baking. Yeah, I was excited. Honestly, every time Cozy Blanket comes out with a new video, I'm like, oh my god, that looks awesome. I just get excited right away. I want to say that it's probably worth it now that it includes UV unwrapping. Well, then now once it comes out with UV unwrapping and baking, I would like to see what baking looks like there. Yeah, we'll see. It's an expensive piece of software, I must say. If you watch the video that I made about Cozy Blanket, if it's worth it being so expensive, it really depends if you are going for something that requires retopology, like animation. Now that it's gonna include UV unwrapping, it's gonna be also good for texturing. So maybe you don't necessarily want to do animation, but you want to have a bit more control on how you paint the colors of your model. So that could be worth it there. Baking is a little bit more advanced. Aside from rendering, Michael, why would you use baking?
Baking what? Sorry, I wasn't listening.
Like baking maps, baking normals, baking displacements.
Apart from rendering?
Yeah.
I mean, it's texture based, so it's really the only reason it's for render, either in video games or in offline rendering. So, no, there is no real reason to use it otherwise. It's part of the texture workflow, so sometimes you need bakes for like ambient occlusion and whatnot.
Yeah.
So if you are doing PBR, which is physically based rendering, textures and substance and things like that. I don't know how loud I am, so I don't know if they can hear me, but those sorts of things, baking is required. So, but if you're in substance, a lot of that baking can be done in substance with varying degrees of success, as you know.
Yeah. It's just like on the topic of Cozy Blanket, because it's gonna come with bakes, a newer update. I don't know everything that it's gonna be able to bake. But, well, if you don't know what baking is, how would I describe it?
It's taking topological data and writing it to a texture. That's essentially what it does.
Yeah, taking topological data and writing it to a texture. So, for example, something that is topological data, it can be where there are curves or where there are corners. So it makes a little map that tells you this area of your sculpt has a corner, this area is way more smooth. And if you're texturing, then you can say to the software that you're using, okay, I want you to give me all of these sharp corners as if they have rust, as if they like are wearing out. This is software that is a bit more advanced than Procreate. This would be a Substance Painter, Marie, the ones that can do that sort of things. I don't know why you would use baking if you're just working on the iPad, because right now you would either have to take that to rendering or to Substance Painter or other texturing software. Yeah, it's a bit weird. It's Cozy Blanket. Yeah, like just circling back, and yeah, try not to get too caught up with that topic. Cozy Blanket does a lot of slightly more advanced, what would we call it, processes in the pipeline, but which might not be necessarily relevant if you're just working on the iPad. Like it aims to work for professionals in a lot of sense, but at the same time professionals won't necessarily be working on an iPad because the iPad may be limited on what you can do. It's weird. I still quite like it, but I don't use it very much. Anyway, going back to the comments. How is my mesh so light? That is because whenever I create a new polygon like this one, a new primitive, I usually take it into super low resolution. I change the parameter or the geometry. I validate this, and then in multi-resolution I may add extra, but I can always go back to the original. That's how I keep it low, and usually how I work always when I'm starting. Thank you, Tilted. Yeah, that's a nice explanation of what is baking, a good application of baking. Yeah, like making a low resolution mesh look like it has a bunch of details, but yeah, without actually putting all the detail there. Yeah, that is a great example. What is the rat's name? I don't know. I haven't named the rat boy yet. What?
Ratty McRatface.
Ratty McRatface. I would love to hear your suggestions. Why not? You guys are in the live stream. You have the honor to name Rat Boy. Rat Boy. Okay. I think now the leg and the feet are working-ish. I think it's starting to look a bit better. I'm not fully convinced yet. So now I'm bringing back the top of the little shoe, this cylinder boy here, to figure out how this is going to work. So now I'm getting confused on which is selected and what is not, which sometimes can be annoying. So I'm gonna activate an outline here, which shows me that I'm working on the mesh that I want to work on. I don't always have this on because sometimes that line kind of get in the way. but it's still good every so often. And just with a mess, I'm gonna make this a tad thinner. See how I'm not even using any of the fancy modeling brushes there? Like right now I'm just like moving, gizmoing, especially with like super simple characters like this. There might be actual little sculpting that I do. Most of it can be controlled with basic transformation brushes. The red is too cool for names. Yeah, you might be right. You might be just right. But, you know, maybe we'll find a name. Why stop? Why not try? If at the end it turns out that it's too cool for names, then we'll settle for that. But what if in the brainstorm we find a perfect name that we never thought?
Banksy.
Banksy, nice. That's a good proposal. Can you guys hear Michael? Because like he's behind me, just there, doing his own
Working on
Houdini
tutorials.
magic. What's that?
Working on tutorials.
Yeah, working on tutorials. But yeah, like every so often, like I talk to him, and yeah, they said that they can hear you. Yeah,
Okay.
I just didn't want it to be like, oh, I'm talking to like this person that you guys cannot hear, and I'm totally not including you in the conversation. That would be awkward. So, yay. Cool. Butler the red boy. I feel like the leg is kind of a bit too long. Like, I sort of like the shape now. But it doesn't look as stumpy as it should. I'm gonna isolate this leg here. I'm gonna try to shorten this a bit. Just the bottom, and try to keep the top the same. And of course I'll have to move yet again these things. There's always a part of the skull that it's like I don't know, hard to get right. Maybe these are a bit too big as well. Maybe the feet needs to be even smaller. That might be what is sort of throwing me off. Yeah. The disembodied boy is in the background. Yes. It's my imaginary husband. That would be sad. And for a while, my family would mock me that I had an imaginary husband because, well, not husband, boyfriend, because we weren't married back then. Because Michael was living in Australia, I was living in Mexico. I had traveled through Australia and everything, but no one in my family knew him, so it was just like, oh yeah, like I have a boyfriend. And at some point my family was like, yeah, sure you do. I was like, but he's in Australia. It's like, yeah, for sure he's in Australia. Yes. Worm Dev, yes, you are correct. This is a magical rat boy, or magical girl rat boy. I can see that you picked out the little wand that the rat boy is holding. This is like a really dumb joke that I came up with a friend of mine. And I made the sketch, so I figured, why not? I'm gonna sculpt this. I also made... The sketch is super no detail, and this photo will probably not show a lot of the ideas I was trying to do, but it also has like tiny wings at the back. So, yay! Yep, the wings. Your favorite rat boy. Ah, a rat boy is happy to hear that. I will attempt to do that little wand. Well, I'm not gonna finish it here. Talking while I sculpt, I become really slow, so I'm sorry if this is not that exciting to watch. That's the difference between the tutorial and the live stream. With the tutorial, I just edit out all the M's, all the constant mistakes that I make. And in the live stream, you can see in real life how slow I can be. And how much I'm just testing this, no, tweaking it a little. This, no, and tweaking again. Now, I'm not sure what's gonna be best here for the ears. I was starting with a sphere, but it might be better to go with a cube. And I'm gonna show you one of my favorite tricks ever, getting rounded corners on this primitives. So this is a regular cube, just opening the primitive menu. I'm gonna lower this quite a bit, and I'm gonna increase the parameter post-subdivision number. So when topology is low and parameter is high, I start to get this nice rounded corners. So yeah, that can be quite useful, and because I guess that the ears are sort of rounded, that's why I'm going for this. So we'll see how this behaves. Oh, you are all very kind. I'm glad that you don't find this that boring. Maybe some people do, but I appreciate that you're not like, this sucks. Kiwis. Kiwis are New Zealanders. Just like Aussies are Australians, Kiwis are New Zealanders. Because it's the national bird. And Kiwis are really cool.
Not kiwi like kiwi fruit.
Oh, that's true, yeah, because the world knows a lot the kiwi fruit, but not necessarily the bird.
Particularly, well, I would say Americans call kiwi fruit kiwis, which is really weird, because we would always call kiwi fruit with the fruit.
Yeah, Mexicans do the same.
What, you call it kiwis?
Yeah, we call the kiwi fruit kiwi.
Yeah.
Because not a lot of people know that it's a bird.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really weird.
I guess it's weird for
People
you.
are like, yeah, you know, just have some kiwis for lunch. I'm like, what? We're an endangered species.
Yeah, I really like kiwi birds. I like that in New Zealand everything is kiwi. It's like kiwi rail, kiwi post, kiwi bank.
To be fair, it's the exact same in Australia. It's just Aussie at the start.
Fair enough, yeah.
Oz Post, Oz Rail, I think even.
Yeah, but kiwi is a nice word.
Yeah.
I always liked the word kiwi as a kid. Yeah, exactly. Kiwi is a cute word. That's exactly it. That's what makes it awesome. You're gonna buy some kiwis now. Yeah, I haven't eaten kiwi in a while. Kiwi fruit in a while, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Get out of my house.
Thank heavens the bin wasn't the dodo bird. Yeah, I know. Kiwi birds are really cool. Or I guess just kiwis. No clarification. Yeah, they're really hard to see on the wild. Because they are very...
Nocturnal.
Yeah, they're nocturnal. And because it's a bird that is really vulnerable, they are really shy as well. So yeah, you'd have to go to a sanctuary to not a museum, silly. Well, I guess that you can see some taxidermized ones in museums. You have to go to a zoo to see them. But even then, it's quite difficult to see them because they are in like nocturnal habitats. Like everything is very dark. But they're big. They're like the size of a chicken. They are really cool. So the face of the screen in the background is just moving around in circles. Lol. Which face are you referring to?
This.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I see it now. Yeah, I was just, I'm looking at the thumbnail of my video and I was like, what? And I just barely see it.
There are a lot of sheep, yes.
Yeah, there are a lot of sheep. So many sheep in New Zealand. I'm trying to get this ear shape, but I'm not liking it. I feel like I'm not getting it right because it has a lot of resolution. And I can't control it as I want it. This is another reason why I start with low resolution topology. So I'm gonna squeeze this a little bit, see if that helps me. Can I go one lower? Yeah, probably this will help me. We'll see. Okay, and I'm gonna pick one side. I'm gonna mask one side. And I'm gonna stretch it. So now I'm not gonna have all of those divisions that I had in the middle. It's roughly the same shape. I can always do multi-resolution if I want it smoother. But at the moment, it's just gonna make it easier to control if I have it like this. We'll see. Maybe I need a different approach. Now I'm moving the pivot up so it's in that corner, so when I scale it, it kind of goes, it stays flat on the top. I'm gonna smooth that mask a little bit better. That mask is being a bit funny. Oh, I didn't mask it correctly. Nope. Yeah, my mask is all messed up. What am I doing? Yeah, that's because I was probably not masking in orthographic view. I missed the point there and then everything was deformed weirdly. Let's try again. So many tries. Yes, they filmed Lord of the Rings in New Zealand. You can go and visit Hobbiton, which is the Shire where the hobbits live. They kept that. They didn't quite keep the original set, but they sort of rebuilt it so it would last, because usually movie sets are, let's just call it disposable. They're not meant to last.
For The Hobbit, they rebuilt it to last. That's why it's there.
True, yeah, for when they did The Hobbit, that's when they rebuilt it, but to last. Exactly. That's a pretty cool thing, and there's plenty of places in New Zealand that you can visit which were used for the film and more recently for the series.
The series wasn't filmed here. No, sorry, disregard. Yeah, no, some of it was filmed up north. I don't think it was
Up north?
yeah, like past where's that terrible town?
Jacobville?
Yeah, you're exactly right.
I'm sorry if anyone is from there.
If anyone's from Dargall, sorry, but it's not great.
Tiny town in New Zealand.
It's just a bit sad. Yeah, up past there, because some friends of ours were selling the production crew eggs from their egg farm.
Ah, yeah, true. That's right.
Thousands and thousands and thousands of eggs.
Yeah, that's crazy. Imagine fitting that many people, all the orcs. There was also at some point on a call for ugly extras to be orcs. So that was funny when that came out. It was like on the news in New Zealand. Do we do 3D modeling as freelancers? Yeah, we do it for our full-time job and also for as part of our freelance. I think I finally have a nice shape for the ear. Now it's finding the right proportion. It might be a tad longer though.
Where's the character from, Érika?
I made it up. Yeah.
Why am I looking at this?
Yeah, it's just joking with a friend, thinking about Bart Simpson as a rat boy. Yeah, just a silly idea that came to mind, and I thought, why not? I'm gonna draw it. And here we are. If you're wondering why I'm making only one side of our rat boy, it's because I'm gonna mirror it later. It's easy to work on from one side and then to add the extra pieces later. Probably the head would benefit right now from having a bit more resolution so I can define a few shapes better. Especially its nose, because it has a sharp tip. I'm not fully convinced with this ear, so I can try to modify that shape a bit better. Yeah, imagine signing up as a joke for the ugly extras and you get it. Well, you would have to look at it from the fun side. You get to work with a lot of cool people.
Imagine being on the crew and being known as, oh yeah, I'm one of the ugly people. Like, how does that work in like workplace harassment?
Oh god, yeah.
It's like a real like thin ice sort of situation.
Yeah, that does sound probably not ideal. That's why I didn't sign up.
Do we do 3D prints?
That's
a funny story.
Oh gosh, do you want to say the story?
No, we won't get into that. The things surrounding it.
Well, Michael used to have a 3D printer, but when he moved to New Zealand, he had to sell it because they're chunky and heavy. And yeah, it's not really quite a smart thing to travel with a 3D printer. I haven't really done 3D printing myself. I just provide the models to Michael, and I'm like, go on, husband, print it for me.
Did I end up printing anything of yours?
Yeah, you printed the hand models.
Oh, the hand.
We
and
attempted
the
to print the link.
Yeah, that really needs to be resin probably.
Yeah.
Did you ever take any photos of those? Put those somewhere to show people.
Photos of what? Of the prints?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Dominic is asking if I did with cubes and spheres as well. I did mostly, yeah, cubes and spheres, and just like start stretching them. The arms are a tube, just a tube tool. The tail as well. But yeah, I don't think I've used anything fancy aside from those. I just try to think what is the easiest primitive to start with. What is the shape more like? I guess at the body I could have used a cone as well. That might have done my life a bit easier. But I mean, anything works, whatever works for you. If you want to use a sphere, if you want to use, just find the thing that you are more comfortable with. And at the moment I'm trying to get the flat part of the head. I am literally flattening that. Just trying to find how to make it look, I guess, how to make it look good. Super abstract explanation, sorry. Now, how to connect it with the overall design. How to make it blend nicely with the curves that are already existing. Yeah, so here I'm just like trying to push this to get that sharper nose shape. See how it looked before, but when I move it forward, that's too big of a brush. Move it forward here, I get that sharper nose. Yeah, that's kind of like a nice shape. I just want to make sure that I don't lose that. No! That straight line that I created. Gonna run another project. Just, yeah, see how like I lost the oh my god, I keep on doing stuff that I don't want to undo. I don't want to super push everything. I want to get that literal straight line, and then I'm gonna blend it towards the back. Let's see, a bit better. I think so, yeah. And I'm just gonna smooth this towards the back. Yes. And I think I also gonna probably go low resolution so I don't shut myself in the foot. Let's expand this top to allow for the eyes. Yeah, that's a really elegant shape. I quite like that. I'm gonna add more resolution to the body so that looks a bit smoother. Haha! Maybe I don't suck at this. I honestly, very often at this stage, I'm like, I think it's going terribly because it looks so blocky, because it's, I don't know, just weird. And it's like, am I doing this the right way? The classic ugly stage of a sculpt. And sometimes you have to power through. Sometimes it all comes together and looks good, and sometimes you just have to accept it and try a different approach. That's very kind, Mars. To be honest, I do a lot of basic shapes because I cannot manage shapes with a lot of resolution. There's plenty of people like just start with heaps of resolution and start sculpting like that and get the shapes and can do great, but I am not that sort of person. I need to really simplify it. If I have too many points, I get overwhelmed, the shapes don't do what I want, and I cry. But when the shapes are simple, few points, I have a little bit more of control. Honestly, what matters is just get to the result. Whatever is more efficient for you, use that. Not because maybe there's someone that you admire that uses something completely different. But that's not necessarily the best for you. I do quite admire people that can work with super intense resolutions early on. It's getting there, it's getting there. Let me bring back that plane. And I'm just gonna set this floor here and make the tail rest. This is not the final position for the tail. I would probably be posing this, but I want to make it look like it flows with the rest of the body. Like it's connected. Oh my god, I still don't like that feet. It looks weird. It just looks too stiff. It doesn't look very alive. Let me try rotating it. Boop, 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 boop. It's kind of getting there. What other piece do I need? It might be a good time to give a rest to my rat boy, and I am going to maybe blocking the little magic wand that it's holding. Oh, thank you. The rat boy is very happy to be called handsome. Let me see. Oh, Frank Lopez, that's a really good idea to do those like Inktober but sculpting challenges to get better. I should definitely do something like that. It's kind of like my objective with the live streams to, of course, spend more time with you guys, but also practice more, like force myself to come up with designs, even if they're simple, and just go for it, do something. I cannot say that I am necessarily the most disciplined all the time. Okay, let's get that little wand. Whoop. I'm just gonna try to get the rough size. Yeah, always low resolution. Actually, this might be better to do with not a cylinder but with a tube, because the cylinder gives me radius control, but just of the top and bottom. But if my wand starts wide and then thins and then tapers out as well, the cylinder won't let me do that. So, haha, let's get rid of that cylinder. Gonna add a tube there. Give it that center point, roughly there. Lower this resolution, maybe not that much. With radius, what I mean is that I can have this and this, so it's a nicer shape. It's slightly more control than what the cylinder would let me do. So that's the whole reason behind this. And that one, maybe I should make it much more bigger than the drawing, because the drawing is quite small, so it's a detail that you can barely see. But if it was like big in comparison to the character, it creates more contrast. It might look more interesting. So yeah, I might just keep it big for the time being. Yeah, Polygon does a lot of sculpting. Like, oh my god, it's impressive the amount of work that that guy can do. Yeah, at the moment, like Michael said, we're not in the position of doing that. Between freelance and full-time work, we can't spend that much time on these extra projects, but I would consider it for the future for sure. It's good to get better at this. Yeah, I'm honestly so impressed with how much work that guy Polygon can do. So how do you do it, mate? How? I'm trying to get the bow shape. I'm glad that you liked the beginner tutorial, Lars. Did you send us the your sculpt? So we love to see the results. We love to see those sculpt books, how they're looking. We have quite a collection now, which is really fun to look at. It's usually through Instagram that we share them and receive them. Share them and receive them, that's the same thing. No, wait, no. Receive them and share them. Haha. Can't English very well today, or ever.
Daylight savings.
Daylight savings, do you think that's why I can't?
Yeah, well, you can have that as your excuse today.
Sure. There's always an excuse of why my brain can't function. How did I round the edges for the squares? That is one of my favorite tricks. I will repeat this, no worries. Any primitive that has corners, if you go into the creation before you validate it, I would lower the number for topology. So quite low. In this case, let's try it with 4. And I'm gonna increase parameter, the post subdivision. So just by increasing it once, it already lowers this. So yeah, the softer, the lowest the topology is, the more this is gonna round up. In this case, a cube will literally become a sphere. Really useful trick, especially when you're working with characters that you don't want it to look inorganic, that you want it to look more alive. That is really useful. Yeah, no worries. I'm just having a look at the comments because I get sometimes too caught up fighting Nomad, trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing. Trying to not look that dumb when I'm demonstrating. Yeah, I'm just looking at Frank Lopez that says that you discovered Nomad with Southern Effects and Polygon. Yeah, I think that Glenn Southern, he was the first guy that did Nomad stuff. Yeah, like definitely looking at those videos I was like, oh, I want to do that as well. Yeah, there's stuff from him when I was just getting started. He's alright, he's a nice dude. I haven't really spoken to Polygon, but I like the stuff that he creates. I haven't seen much of the Nomad stuff that he does though. I know that he's posted stuff made in Nomad, but I haven't watched videos if he's used Nomad. I should probably look out for that. Yeah, see how just by masking and doing little moves you can turn these basic shapes into something more complex. I'm just trying to get the bow shape. I might zoom in on this in case you didn't catch this before. Here on the bottom, underneath my silly face, I have the drawing that I'm working on, and this rat boy has that magic wand. It's a magical rat boy. Michael has just made the jingle.
No, it's from
ASDF, I know.
Okay, yeah.
I know.
I wasn't sure.
Fair enough. I tend to be not really good at music. I have dedicated my brain power towards visual arts, and my brain has no capacity to keep information related to music. And Michael is a musician, so a lot of times he asks me things and I'm like, what? Yeah, that bow shape seems to be working alright. How did I reverse that mask? I am using the shortcuts. So if you hold down the mask button, I'm gonna use my mouse to show you here, down here. If you hold that down, and depending when you tap, it's gonna do a different operation. So if I tap outside on the background, that is gonna reverse the mask. I'm gonna make the mask again. If I tap on the mask itself, it's gonna blur it. If I tap outside of the mask, it's gonna sharpen it. You can have a look at the Nomad manual if you want like the full list. I'm pretty sure I also made a video where I explained this. But the other way that you can access this is when you have any mask tool selected. Here at the top where you have the mask menu, this first area, you have all the basic operations. Clear, invert, blur, sharpen. Usually in the videos on the tutorials I use this so this is clear, but when I'm working I use the gestures because it's much faster to work with. Alright, so I have that bow, which I'm gonna duplicate to get the other side. So this might be a bit smaller, this looks a bit chunkier maybe. So I want it to look silly. Chunky bow. Not liking that much. How am I gonna do a star? I don't know what's the best way to do a star. I guess I'm gonna try something. I'm gonna try with a sphere and I'm gonna try to put cones around it. Oh, that's pretty neat that your school has a 3D printer, Mars. When I was studying, I don't think we had 3D printers.
We just had tablets and chisels, right?
Yeah, tablets and chisels, because I am so old. Such an old lady.
My dad, we didn't have tablets and chisels.
What do you have? Dirt?
Just shadows on the wall.
Oh, shadows on the wall. Yep, if I'm old, Michael is the oldest boy. I'm using right now the very same technique that I showed you before to round corners to get like this nice rounded cone. So it's not super sharp. And I am gonna use this base cone and rotate it around the sphere to get the star shape. I don't know if this is the smartest way to do a star, but I am testing stuff. Alright, so I need to work in not perspective, that is correct. Let's go for my front view. I'm gonna lock my canvas. If you use the cube, snap cube, and just hold it down, it's gonna lock it so you won't be able to rotate. I just zoom in and pan. I'm gonna move my pivot to the center of that sphere, like that. And I'm gonna rotate this. How much I'm gonna rotate it, because it's 5 times. I'm just gonna bring my calculator because I am not good at math and this is why I draw cats. I'm gonna do 360 by 5, so 72. I need to rotate this 72 by 72 degrees. So I'm gonna turn on my snap rotation and I'm gonna close my calculator. 72, set that. I'm gonna clone this and I'm gonna rotate another. No, that's not 72, that's 70. Ah, panic! Panic! 72. Alright, Nomad. Do you not do 72 seriously? Why is it? It's like rounding to 70. Oh god, do you not let me do just... I think it's just like literally snapping by 5. That is not ideal. Wow. Okay, I guess I'll do 75 and it's not gonna be the most precise, but it's something. No, my pivot, what is happening? Everything is going crazy. Alright. Set pivot back. Rotate by 70. Clone. Okay. Clone. Clone again. Ah. I said. Ah! This is being a bit annoying. Rotate. Rotate. Yay! It looks silly, but it's not the most precise. I guess that I can adjust it a bit now, so it looks like those extra 5 degrees that I didn't have. Why did the pivot move? That's a bit annoying. I just want it there at the center. I'm sorry if this is confusing. It's not behaving as I was hoping it would. Yay. See, you guys are having a conversation about 3D printing. I really don't know much about 3D printing. There's a really cool guy that has supported our channel quite a bit, Uncle Jesse. That's the one that I recommend for anyone that wants to do 3D printing.
Yeah, his channel's really, really good.
Yeah, yeah, and he's very nice.
He's a good dude as well. Go subscribe to Uncle Jesse.
Yeah, go Uncle Jesse. He's really funny. Like, even just following him on Instagram, he does like everything is about 3D printing, but it's like, I 3D printed shoes, like sneakers, and like he goes running with his 3D printed sneakers. It's like, oh wow, I didn't know you could do that. I guess it makes sense. Okay, so now this is something that my design doesn't necessarily, it didn't quite work on 2D. Like, I have the bow clipping with the star there, and I often run into this sort of things when I'm designing stuff. Yeah, like I'm thinking in basic 2D shapes, but when you get to 3D, that's a new challenge. Because on 2D you're thinking in just one axis, well, 2 axes. You're thinking about a flat surface. But how do things work on 3D? That's what I'm trying to figure out now. So if I'm talking about depth, I'm thinking that maybe this bow would be in front, as if it was like wrapping around the wand, I guess. So it would not sit right in the middle there. Probably this thing would be also rotated forward, so it's not clipping with a nice star. I'm gonna make this smaller. I also don't want it to take attention away from the star. The star is the protagonist of this little prop, so I don't want to do something that is taken away from that star. Oh my god, it also has wings. What was I thinking when I designed this little wand? Now, how am I gonna do those wings? Make the X blade star shape. Oh, that would be cool. Yeah, if it was like the magic one, but it was also a weapon. That's pretty neat. I like that idea. Okay, this magic wand, you can super not tell in the drawing because I made it quite rough, but it's meant to have like a little gem at the bottom. So I'm gonna use an icosahedron. I don't know how to pronounce it.
What?
Icosahedron?
Yeah, that sounds right. I don't think I've ever said it out loud.
y cosaedro. Whenever I can't pronounce stuff in English, I just say it in Spanish and hope for the best. Yeah, because this is like a I guess the closest thing that kind of looks like a gem, so I'm gonna use that guy. Icosahedron. Yeah, Ghost. Ghost is so exciting. Michael listens to way more music than me. A lot of times I just concentrate better when I'm not listening to stuff. I guess it depends on what I'm working on. If I am doing creative work that requires brain power and figuring out problems, I prefer not to listen to things. If it's more like a repetitive task, which is not creative, that's when I listen to stuff. But yeah, like Michael said, lately we have been listening a lot to Ghost. Gorillaz is awesome. I love Gorillaz. I have so many cool early childhood memories when I remember listening to Gorillaz. Now, I am thinking that gemstone is not blending very nicely. So maybe I'll add a little extra ring there. Kind of it was like a metal holder. So make this smaller. It's kind of nice when in props you break the silhouette. And I'll explain this a little bit more in a second. Sort of there. So what do I mean by breaking the silhouette? I just center this. Okay. So I need to... So we have this shape that is going around here. This side of the wand. And by adding this extra cylinder right here, what I'm doing is that I have this line, but instead of keeping it just like a clean line, clean straight line, I'm adding a little bit more interest by adding that little step. So that can make things sometimes more interesting. And this sort of ring, I could experiment. I can see what happens if I also add it here, higher up, maybe a little bit bigger or maybe a little bit thinner. So I'm making this silhouette slightly more interesting by adding this sort of little details. Or it could be here at the bottom, sure, why not? A few those things, and maybe they get smaller and smaller. I can play with the distribution. So that can make for a more interesting design if instead of just a boring straight line, I have boop, boop, boop. Hopefully this makes sense. I spent more time in my professional life doing design, character design and prop design before I got into sculpting more recently. But so it was mostly illustration, what I used to do, but all of that knowledge really applies and really works when you're doing sculpting. So I recommend to draw. I recommend to plan in 2D. Which is just related to what Frank was asking if I draw and illustrate. Yes, I do it quite a bit. This is not a great drawing of the rat boy because I wanted to keep it loose. But yeah, that's what I spent most of my life, professional life doing. I guess most of my life. I started drawing really early on. And you don't have to be great at drawing to be a good sculptor. It just sometimes helps to solve problems. Whatever helps you, anything that you can use to sketch. Like a sketch doesn't mean I have a sketchbook and I'm using my pencil. A sketch can be clay, a sketch can be just bashing a bunch of cubes and circles to figure out what you want to make. maybe clay, sand, whatever you can use to like pre-visualize an idea. It's worth it before you commit to the final thing. Alright. I don't know if I'm gonna add the wings to this design. I feel like the wings was, at least on the wand, I don't know that the wings was the best idea. I will add the wings to a little rat boy. But yay! I am going to once again move the pivot of this here at the center. I am going to clone it. And I'm gonna get the duplicate here. So we can see that thing a bit better. And now I made this cylinder, which is like what the bow is tied from, but I want to make it a bit visible from the front. Yay! Yeah, I'm working on drawing for while your sculpture is really useful. Like, doing both things help. When I sculpt, my drawing gets better because I understand 3D shape more. But when I cannot figure out things on 3D, I just go back to drawing and makes life easier. It's weird to describe. Again, I'm looking at the general design here, and I still think that this bow is competing too much with the star. I'm always thinking in terms of what is the protagonist of the design. Sometimes the protagonist is the face, sometimes the protagonist could be a custom piece. In this case, the protagonist would be the star. So even though I had secondary elements like the little gem, like the bow, I don't want them to steal attention from the most important part. Let me see. Can I try a quick old trick to mirror this? Where is this? That super didn't work. Poof. It says Marcis, I draw every day at school. Just a few days ago I drew a super cool shark. Ooh, nice. A shark on a math test. I hope you got an A, a high score. I don't know which score you use, what score system you use, but yeah. I had all sorts of teachers when I went to school, like some teachers which loved drawings and others which would take points away if I did drawings, which was not very nice. Yeah, I think I got a pretty decent blocking here done. We've been going for an hour and a half, which I think it's pretty good for today. I really appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with me, watching me make so many mistakes, so many tweaking around. I hope that the even if it's just like enjoying a nice hangout, but that you had a nice time, and if you've gotten something out of this blocking, some maybe techniques on how to use Nomad. Yeah, I hope that's the case. I will be posting this final model. I will also be sharing I will be sharing this blocking to our Patreon supporters. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Frank, for being here. Thank you all. Oh, I missed a comment earlier from Diego. Hola, Diego. Hola y adios. Sorry. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for hanging out, for chatting with us, for your suggestions. For our rat boy. Yeah, it's just really fun to be here. And I guess we'll see you soon in a new live stream. Do you want to say bye?
Bye.
Oh,
New tutorials coming this week.
yeah.
From me. I don't think you doing any this week.
I'm gonna focus more on live streams. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I'll have a couple of tutorials up this week for more stuff that probably no one in this chat is interested in, but that's okay. And then you probably be live streaming a little bit more going forward, and
Yes,
tutorials every so often, and then maybe some more extended content towards the end of the year.
That's right.
Yeah. Busy October for both of us though.
BC October indeed.
So yeah, we're going to try and get through October the best way we can.
Sketchy Squirrel. Miss you, dude.
Oh, hey, yeah. Hey, Sketchy Squirrel. I didn't see you in chat.
We love your work as well.
Make sure everyone in chat goes and subscribes to Sketchy Squirrel as well. Great content if you're a Blender user, a really talented artist.
Yeah. So many cool things coming into his way. Anyway, just before I go, if I sculpt in orthographic view as opposed to perspective, I'm always switching around. If you're sculpting moving around the camera, perspective is better because you can see things more naturally how the eyes would. But if you want precisions in selections, you might want to go to orthographic view. I tend to forget to go back to perspective, which is not the best habit. Yeah, alright guys, thank you all for joining. It's been fun, and we will see you soon.
Bye 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 bye.
Deep, deep, deep.